Hydrogen is divisive. As the firstborn of the atoms, you would think it would be more responsible. But no. Its destructive tendencies are well known and feared. And when left to itself, it can't wait to leave Earth and go gallivanting off into space. But for all its faults, it does provide a lot of energy when you combine it with oxygen, producing only water as waste. So naturally, humanity began to wonder if we could burn it inside cars, or use it to power planes and ships, or even serve as long-term storage for renewable energy. This turned out to be possible, and thus the idea of hydrogen economy was born. But hydrogen gas tends to float away from smaller rocky planets like ours, so it's not particularly abundant in its pure state. But we still do have a lot of hydrogen on Earth, and that's because it's quite reactive. And instead of floating away like on some other planets, it combined with heavier elements that pulled it down to the ground. Elements combine because they need to fill the void in their electron shells. One of the elements hydrogen combines well with is carbon, forming a neat little class of compounds called hydrocarbons. Compounds are more stable than their individual elements, meaning they're lower in energy. So if we want to convince the individual elements to separate, we're going to need to pump in some energy to make up the difference. So, to get hydrogen from methane, we supply this energy in the form of high pressure and temperature. Steam reforming of methane is one of the most energy-efficient ways to produce hydrogen. And this is how the vast majority of all hydrogen is produced today. Unfortunately, this process also produces carbon dioxide. So hydrogen is not quite the perfect fuel. And because it's small and light, it tends to leak and is quite difficult to store as well. You need a heavy-duty tank to keep it in one place. And hydrogen isn't very dense, so the tank needs to be pretty big. All these disadvantages led to Elon Musk declaring hydrogen a big pain in the ass. This hasn't deterred Toyota though. They're trying to bring hydrogen cars to the mainstream with the Mirai. But the actions of private companies are not the most important factors. The support and subsidies that governments provide matter much, much more. And several governments all around the world are committing to the hydrogen economy. And a company, university, from Germany has just made a major breakthrough. One that promises to bring the hydrogen revolution a lot closer to reality. Power paste is magnesium hydride, a grey material with the consistency of toothpaste. And since it's semi-solid instead of gaseous, it can carry hydrogen without requiring large, pressurized tanks. The working is pretty simple. The power paste reacts with water to create hydrogen, which can then be fed into a fuel cell. The injection is done with a plunger. Because of the physical properties of the power paste, it is much easier to control the rate of the reaction. Something you need for applications where you need quick response to input, like cars. And an added bonus is that it's quite stable, so it can hold its charge for years. Magnesium is quite widely available, and while you do need high pressures and temperatures to make magnesium hydride, it seems to be a straightforward and scalable process. The specific energy of hydrogen is very high, so even though it's only 10%, you can squeeze a lot of energy out of this. It beats lithium-ion batteries hands down. Now, compared to fossil fuels, it may not look all that good, but you've got to remember that internal combustion engines, reliable as they are not quite efficient when it comes to energy conversion. In a car, they can convert around 25% of the energy available in fossil fuels to mechanical energy. Hydrogen fuel can more than double that. But another important factor, and arguably the most important one, is cost. So let's see if we can figure out how cost-efficient power paste can be for cars. Working backwards from the specific energy of hydrogen, we can estimate that power paste has a specific energy of 3.3 kilowatt-hour per kilogram. With 60% efficiency, we'd need around 50 kilograms of power paste to power a Tesla. Compare that to the current weight of the Tesla battery, And the importance of this breakthrough starts becoming clear. The Fraunhofer Institute is projecting a cost of €2 per kilogram of power paste. That would give us a cost of $119 for a full mechanical recharge. Mechanical recharging is a euphemism for swapping out one cartridge of power paste for another. I think it sounds much cooler, so I'm going to stick with it. Anyway, assuming a full mechanical charge can go for 600 kilometers, this would come to a cost of $0.2 per kilometer, which would be around 4 times the running cost of fossil fuel-powered vehicles, in the best case scenario. In the worst case, it would be around 12 times. But it would emit no carbon dioxide, so that's a major plus. If you compare it to electric cars, then the price equation gets even worse. But lithium-ion battery-powered cars are expensive. Can we expect a power paste-powered car to be cheaper? Well, hydrogen-powered cars tend to be quite expensive, generally speaking. And any car powered by power paste will essentially be a hydrogen fuel cell car with extra steps. For these reasons, I don't think we can expect it to be significantly cheaper, at least for now. I know what you're thinking. Sarah, come on, we're through a good part of the video and you're not making a very compelling case. You can't make a video on something because it looks cool. Well, 1, I absolutely can. And 2, let's go back and take a look at the equation through which hydrogen is produced. Magnesium hydride reacts with water to produce hydrogen and magnesium hydroxide. There seem to be only 2 atoms of hydrogen in the magnesium hydride, but on the right-hand side, we're getting 4. That means the remaining hydrogen must be coming from water. This is excellent. That means only half the hydrogen needs to come out of a production facility. The other half comes from water. Remember, most hydrogen produced today is from the steam reforming of methane. If you halve that, you immediately halve the carbon dioxide emissions as well. Let's milk this for a little more information and a few more minutes of watch time. Plugging in the numbers, we find that we should get 1 kg of hydrogen for 5 kg of magnesium hydride. But the paper says that we get only 1 kg of hydrogen for 10 kilograms of power paste. So that must mean that the rest is in the additives and the metal salts mentioned here. These exist to help prevent the magnesium hydroxide from forming a layer of passivation. That's what happens when you try to use pure magnesium hydride. The reaction causes the formation of magnesium hydroxide. If you've seen the aluminum air battery video, you'll know that one of the ways to bring the price down was to recycle the aluminum hydroxide. Could we do the same here? A quick Google search reveals that you can sell magnesium hydroxide for $4 a kg. That makes no sense, because then if you just drain the sludge off your hydrogen car, you can sell it for twice as much as you paid for the power paste in the first place. Even if you split the profits between the company and the customer, your fuel will basically be free. Maybe that's already factored into the €2 cost? I don't know. I'm not the Fraunhofer IFAM. But I think the biggest blow to our get rich with magnesium hydroxide scheme is that they don't mention it anywhere in their publication. We know that half of the power paste is other stuff. So maybe it's difficult to separate the magnesium hydroxide from that. Anyway, what else do we have to check? Oh yeah, you'll also need water to react with the power paste. How much? 1.4 times the weight of the magnesium hydride component of power paste. So for the Tesla, that comes up to
35 kilograms or 35 liters
of water, which is not too bad. The good thing is that you don't need distilled water or anything. Their reaction seems pretty robust and works with almost every kind of water. Now, in their literature, they've mentioned cars with extended range only in one place. Between that and the cost, I think we can pretty much rule out cars as the primary purpose of this technology. So what can it be used for? A major use case that they've highlighted is long-range drones. While the cost isn't that workable, you still have one of the highest energy densities by kilogram. Going up against gravity is one of the endeavors most sensitive to weight. So drones would stand to benefit greatly from this technology. They needn't use it only for range either. They could just as easily put more technology on board for communication, optics, and navigation. It would still be niche cases where a higher cost can be justified, but still, it's something. Keep in mind though that in all their schematics, there is an additional buffer battery involved as well. I can't say how that may change the cost and weight equation. They call it a buffer/backup system, and it may be used in the startup process, since their graph shows that the power paste takes a bit of time to get up to power. The other case they highlight is backup power and storage for remote locations. They have a really cool prototype for that as well. It may not be cheaper than a diesel generator, but it'll cause no pollution and run silently. And as governments pass the cost of carbon dioxide emissions on to those producing it, this will likely create a better market for this technology. Some questions remain, like, can it be pumped as a fluid? Can the waste thermal energy from hydrogen production be used for heating? Is magnesium good for teeth? If power paste is already here, could power pesto and power pasta be far behind? We'll probably have to wait till commercial applications are more mature to get all the answers. Now, the hydrogen economy doesn't plan to rely on steam reforming forever. In the long term, the hydrogen, dubbed green hydrogen, will be made from our second great repository of hydrogen on Earth, water. If electrolysis of water is done using renewable electricity, then we'll get gluten and lactose-free, zero-cruelty hydrogen. The guilt-free gas from which dreams are made. What? You guys don't dream of hydrogen? Weirdos. To be clear, this is possible today, but the hydrogen produced is far too expensive. Electrolysis is driven by electricity. So low or negative electricity prices are crucial to making green hydrogen cheaper. And this isn't as big a problem as you'd think. Countries like Germany, Denmark, and the UK have already shown that negative energy prices can be just a regular thing in the future, especially when a high percentage of your grid is based on renewables. There are going to be a lot of claims on that excess energy, notably from the water desalination mafia. But I'm pretty sure that hydrogen production is going to be near the head of the queue regardless. Well, I hope that gave you an insight into power-paste technology. It doesn't solve the cost part of the hydrogen equation, but it does solve the carbon dioxide problem, well, half of it anyway. And more importantly, it addresses the issues surrounding storage and transport of hydrogen gas. And that's still a huge breakthrough. If hydrogen economy is going to be a thing, it'll take a lot of these kinds of technologies to help us along. Some revolutionary discoveries, some process changes, and some incremental improvements on existing technologies. Green hydrogen is projected to become much cheaper, and hydrogen fuel cells are also going to go down in price as more and more of them are manufactured. The wheels of science turn slowly, but grind hydrogen into exceedingly gooey grey paste. As you reflect on those words, I urge you to consider liking the video and join the spirited discussion on the merits of grey hydrogen goop. I'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.